Now, we have the main method here in which outside this main method, we have to create different modules or methods for the array operations. But first, we need to create an array. So in the main method, we have to create first our array. So to create an array, we have to declare it first. For example, we need to create an array for integers, and we will name our array as my array. Okay, we have a pair of square brackets here for our array object. Then to allocate a memory address for our array, we have the operator new, and the type of our elements to be put in our array is an integer. And we have a pair of square brackets. Now, here we need to define the size for our array. Say for example, since um, we need to have the fixed size for our array, for our elements, we need to declare the size, which is final. Okay, for example, 10. Okay, sorry. The size of our array is 10, and it must be declared as final. So by convention, for the constant size, we have used all caps for the constant name. All right, and we have the final size of 10, or the final value for our constant name size, which is 10. And this will be used for the size of our array. Now, the operations like populate, print, display, and other operations will be done in different modules. So here, outside this main method, we will be creating a method to populate the array, meaning ask the user to enter the elements or the numbers for our array. And we will be using the method named populate. Okay, of course, we will be using the access specifier public and static so that this method will be accessible inside this main method. Okay, and we have the void type, so we don't need to return a value for this populate method. And this method populate will receive the array. Okay, so we'll have to include a parameter here for our array. And we will be using the name of our array myR. Okay, so this will receive the array being passed upon calling it here. Okay, upon calling it in the main method. And what are we going to do here is ask the user to enter how many numbers. Okay, say for example, please enter how many numbers for our array, and we can determine that through the length, and the length constant variable belongs to, or is a predefined variable, belongs to an array. Okay, so here we will be using the name of our array dot length. Okay, so this length here knows what's the length of our array. So we'll be using this one and concatenate the literal string first. So the user will be prompt the message, please enter 10 numbers. Since the size for our array is 10. Okay? And here, in order that we will be repeatedly asked to enter 10 numbers, we will be using the for loop. Okay? And for our index, we will be using the variable I and starts at 0. Okay? And this will continually ask until we will reach the value of 10. So I is less than or equal to my r dot length. Okay? Then increase the index, we have the I plus plus. Right? Now, inside our for loop, diba? For each of the number being entered by the user will be put in each index for our array. So we will be using the name of our array, and for the specific element, we will be using the index I. So the variable I will be used for the index of the array. Okay, that is my r sub I is equal to whatever the number being entered by the user. Since we are going to ask the user to enter a number, so we will be using the scanner class. Okay, for the scanner class, we have to create an object of class scanner. Let us say SC. Okay, okay, for our input stream object. So this SC will be used to access the methods of class scanner like next int, since we are asking the user to enter an integer for our array. Okay, to specify, we will alter this one for the word integer instead of numbers, since numbers can be interpreted as with a number with decimal parts or whole numbers. Okay, to be specific, we will be using the word integers instead of numbers. And here, again, we will be using this one to access the methods of class scanner like next int. Okay, so each of the inputs from the user will be put in a specific element of our array, started at index 0. Okay, all right. So now let's try to call this populate. Call this populate method. It's in, you have to put the method call here in the main method and pass the name of our array, my array. Okay. Next, okay, to verify that we have successfully populated the array, we need to print. Okay, we need to print the content of the array. So in another module or in another method, we will be defining the method or the statements to populate the contents of our array. So again, public access specifier will be used. Um, the void method will be used, and we will name this one as display. Okay, and this display method, of course, need to have the copy of our array. And in this time, we'll be using still the name myr. Okay, and here to display the contents of our array, we will be using, okay, but before the loop, let's try to format the output with a label first. Okay, like for example, array contents. All right, then after that one, we have the loop. That is to loop each of the element of the array starting at index 0. So I variable will be used, and we are going to visit each element. We will be again repeatedly step through each of the elements starting from index 0, and it will not stop until the end of the element. So the name of our array is myr, and to know the length, we have the predefined variable of array, which is length. Okay, so increment the pointer to the next element is a plus plus. Here, we are going to just display the element. Okay, to display the element, we will be using the print line method. I mean, instead of print line, since we need to save the space, okay, so just print the elements in a horizontal display. So instead of print line, print method will be used. And just separate the array elements with a space. Okay, how will you print the content? So we have the name of our array and specify the index since we are using the loop, and the variable I to visit each element. We have my array sub I and concatenate with a space. Okay, now let's call. Okay, let's try to call this display method inside the main method. Display and pass the name of our array, my array. Okay, so we are referring to this array name, and this my r will receive the array upon calling the method display. Okay, and upon calling the method populate and pass the array as an argument, of course, the interpreter will look for a method named populate, which is this one, with a parameter of type array. So which is this one, an array of integer. Okay, let's try to save all and run. Please enter 10 integers. Say for example, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oops. Wait for a while. There's something wrong for statements. Okay? And we have encountered an exception of index, array index out of bounds exception. Okay? That in that case, that we have go beyond the limit of the array. That is, it must go between 0 and 9. Okay, 0 index to 9 index. Okay, let's try to evaluate this one. since we have the size of 10 and we have to populate the array starting at index 0, and since we are using the equal sign here, dapat siya. Okay, since when we reach 10, it's still true. That is why we have the array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so we need to populate until 9 index. Okay, same as here, need to print until 9. Otherwise, an index out of bounds exception will show. Save all and try to run. Try to enter 10 integers. 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and we have successfully populated and printed our array elements. Okay, there are times that we can encounter an array index out of bounds if we will go beyond the limit of the range of our array. That is, we must not get or the index must not be less than 0 and greater than size minus 1. Okay, that is from for the size of 10, the range of index must be from 0 to 9. All right, and since we have already successfully populated and printed or displayed the array elements, we can now proceed to the next method, like getting the smallest element, getting the largest element, and other operations. Let's say, for example, let's try to get and display the smallest element. Okay, so for the smallest element, again, we will be using another method for that, right? And we will name this one as get min. And of course, we need to have the copy of the array. Okay, and here we will evaluate each of the element and get the smallest value, right? So to get the smallest value, we need the temporary variable. Okay, the temporary variable like min. Okay, and this min will temporarily be initialized with the first element. So let the first element be the smallest value. So to assign the first element as the smallest value, we have myr sub 0. Okay, so the first element is located at index 0. So let the myr sub 0, so the first element, be assigned to the value for our min variable. Okay, and to visit each of the elements, we need the loop. Okay, and the convenient loop for me is a for loop. Okay, so again, we will be using the variable I for our index, and this I will not stop until we will reach the size of our array. Okay, ir dot length. Of course, to go to the next element, so we need to increment the counter of I plus plus. And here, Okay, since we are going to evaluate each of the elements and compare it to the mean value, so we have the if here. Okay, so if the value of mean is less than or equal to the value of the array at a specific index, okay, starting at index 0. So I variable is being used in our for loop. So the value of mean will be compared to the element in each of the index. Then if it's true that mean is less than my array sub I, so okay, wait, let's try to have this one. Okay, um this is correct that we have this one, but it seems that the logic, okay, if this value is greater than the value at a specific index, then let this mean equal to the value of my array sub I. Okay, okay, for example, we have the elements here of 5, 1, 3, 4, 6. Okay, so for example, we have 5 elements here, and since we are getting the first element and assign it to the variable mean, in this case, the value of mean is 5, right? Okay, then using the for loop, evaluate each of the element. At the first iteration, okay, first iteration, we have iteration 1. Okay, at first iteration, the mean value is being compared to the value at index 0. Okay, first iteration meaning the value of I is 0. Okay, not be confused about that. Okay, on the first iteration meaning on first or at the start of the loop, the value of I is 0. And evaluate. Is mean, which is 5, greater than or equal to 5? So it's true since 5 is greater than or equal to 5. Now, the value of mean is 5. Next, since we have the I++ here, the counter is being incremented to 2. Okay, on the second iteration, okay, the second iteration, still, let us say, let's try to alter this one. Okay, alter your mind that instead of the iteration, let us have the value of I. Okay, clarify the value of I, which is at first iteration we have 0, and the second iteration value of I is 1. At 1, at index 1, the value of the array at index 1 is 1. Okay, and compare. Is 5 greater than or equal to 1? Okay, di ba? Mean is 5. Here, mean is 5. And on the second iteration, in which the value of I is 1, so we are at index 1. Okay, at index 1, we have the statement of is mean greater than or equal to the element at index 1. So is 5 greater than or equal to 1? This is true. Since this is true, it will go to here. So alter the mean, that will get the value of my array sub I, which is 1. Okay? Now the value of mean is 1. Okay, I plus plus, it will become 2. So we are now at index 2. Okay? So the value at index 2 is 3. Compare. Is 1, okay, is mean greater than or equal to 3? Is mean greater than or equal to 3? No. So proceed. Go to index 3. So the value at index 3 is 4. Compare. Is mean, which is 1, greater than or equal to the value at index 3, so which is 4? No. So proceed. We have at index 4. At index 4, still, it suffices the condition of I is less than my r dot length. In this case, we have 5 elements. Okay? And now we are at index 4. So compare. Compare the mean to the value at index 4. The mean is 1. So is 1 greater than or equal to the value at index 4, which is 6? No. So exit. Now I plus plus. We are now at the value of 5. Sorry. Okay? The value of I now is 5. Then condition is I, which is 5, greater than 5? No. So exit from the loop. Therefore, upon exiting the loop, we need to display the mean. Okay, minimum value is, okay, to be concatenated with min. Right? Since we have the void type here, just going to display the mean value upon exiting the for loop. That is, we have already the minimum value among the array elements. And here, we're going to call the get in method. Okay, and of course, pass the array named my array. Save. Now let's try to run. Okay. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we have here the array contents and the minimum value is 1. Okay. We're just going to put this one in a new line. That is, we have slash n here. Save. Right? Any questions so far and or clarifications?